Welcome back to the vendor table.
Hello.
What's going on?
Full of so much excitement.
All right, Lauren's fangirling. I'm internally fangirling. I'm sorry. Okay, so
I'm internally screaming.
all right, so we're excited to have this next guest on the show. You might know her for her incredible romantic and whimsical wedding gown designs. Might have seen her on Say Yes to the Dress. You also might have seen her incredible shoe line. She is Cheval. She's been featured in publications across the globe. Also has testified in front of the U.S. Senate to help lead the fight against unlawful non-compete agreements. We are so excited to welcome Miss Hayley Paige to the table.
Thanks for having me.
I just want you to know, Miss Hayley Paige, that this was one of our, when we first created the podcast, one of our big dream long-term goals was to have you on the podcast. And I'm a little emotional right now.
Goodness, that's such an honor. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So this feels very surreal to us. So thank you so much for agreeing to sit with us and talk with us about what you have going on in this incredible chapter of your life now.
Oh, pleasure. Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, she's not joking, by the way. We literally have a notepad file of
It's in the notes.
big dreams, kind of thing. And it was like, Hayley Paige interview. Boom. Okay. So now that you're on here and we're screaming internally slightly, we are really excited to have you on. And we wanted to talk, now that you are back in bridal design, can you explain the process of what goes into designing a wedding gown?
Love the question. It's very creative, but there's also this element of math in how it comes together and the construction. And for me, I really benefited from my education in design. I learned everything from flat pattern making to draping to sewing to the complexities of textiles and the behavior of materials and all these things that really go into the bigger picture in making a dress. And I know that all designers kind of approach their process differently, but for me, it really is an evolution and it's in stages, and it is always open to evolving and interpreting or reinterpreting in a different way, because once you kind of get started on it, it can take on a new form. And I say that in, originally thinking of, okay, I'm going to do a toile dress. I love the idea of having some color infused, and I want to do a big skirt on it, and I want tons of volume and ruffles and the whole horsehair thing. And then I come to find too much of the print gets lost in the fullness of the dress. And so, but I love the fullness, so I'm going to change the print instead of the fullness, and so you kind of have to know a lot as you go, but then be open to making changes. So much of design is really making decisions. So that can be complex.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a lot of planning, and then a lot of evolving as you go through the process, which is beautiful. I mean, we've watched you do your designs and you do that by hand, right? Every time?
Yeah, so I'm still very old school. I do all of my sketches by hand, and that was just how I learned to draw and how I illustrate. And I would be open to some of these new fancy programs and learning how to draw quicker, I guess. I just haven't found the time to teach myself those things yet. So I still just spend the extra time to do it by hand.
That was one of our questions was actually okay, we know you sketch and we've seen your behind the scenes that you post on your Instagram and everything like that is sketch based. Everything is sketch based. And so have you haven't dabbled in Procreate or any of those tablet designs or anything like that? You're still old school?
Not yet. I want to. I find that a lot of design houses are using them, and it allows them to enhance their vision a lot more accurately. Whereas with me, sketching is it's a personification, but there's something about it that's very animated and almost cartoonesque. So even when I'm designing and I'm creating a tech pack, I still have to go make a flat, which is like an Illustrator flat. So I'll use like Illustrator for something like that to show the actual design lines and how the pattern fits together and things that are a little bit more detail or mathematically oriented. Whereas the fashion sketch is always a bit dramatized, it's exaggerated, it's a little more aspirational. And so that's where I find that my vision comes together a little bit better in that fantasy world than it does in the actual tech design, which I think is probably unorthodox for a lot of designers, but I don't know.
Well, kind of piggybacking off of that, since you haven't used like those, or at least haven't like gone too deep into that realm, we've talked about AI programs and how it's kind of taking the wedding industry by storm and how these programs are being implemented within our industry. So we were kind of wondering if you have used any AI programs, which it seems like possibly not, but if you are open to using those programs in your designs or how you see it playing a role in the fashion industry.
If it's time saving, I think it's worth using. And right now I use GPT for content copy, like if I'm trying to come up with a caption, and I never use it face value. I kind of work with the system to come up with something that feels like my voice, and I make a ton of changes to it, but it usually helps me get there faster when it comes to like a blog post or an email blast or a caption. So I use it for that mainly. I know that there are some pretty fancy things it can do, and that's just, I'm open-minded to how it could potentially encourage design and the expression of design better. And I don't know, it's a learning curve for sure. But I think I heard this the other day that somebody said it's not that AI is going to replace jobs and it's going to replace businesses, it's people that are using AI that are going to replace those other businesses. So I think it's definitely important to stay on top of it. Yeah.
I didn't think of that actually, but that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, no, it's that's very true. Like with AI coming about, like for wedding photographers, so like we use AI to assist us, like in edit functions and like speeding up workflows, even like replying to clients, like our CRM systems have built-in replies. I've used ChatGPT to write a good Instagram caption once in a while.
Guilty.
A bit, yeah, very guilty of that. Time saver. Holy, yeah, like unbelievable. So like that's where, I didn't think you were using it for design purposes, and I don't think anyone thinks that. More the fact of, so you're open to it to like assist you in helping, maybe speed up processes and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. And I would honestly be really excited to hear more about how you guys use it for photo editing and filtering, because even for Instagram, I use Lightbox to enhance some of the exposure or like tamper with the brightness and things like that, or if you want to blur out something on the image. But I know that there's just a lot of fancy tricks and things that, all is fair in this game. So I feel like it all takes time and energy and focus.
I think some of the things that like I've ended up using it for are mainly removing things like exit signs or distracting objects that might be present in a photo that before might have taken us hours to remove, but now you can do in seconds, which is just unbelievably crazy. But also, I mean, with regard to like certain things you might have missed in the moment. Like I remember just recently I had a bride's veil ripped. Somebody stepped on it and it had a hole in it. And we were doing like the over the head veil shot, and I'm looking underneath it and I see this gigantic rip in her veil, and I'm like, so I could remove it later. And it didn't bother me or like at all, because I knew that I could do it within seconds. Or even like something as silly as like the bottom of the train was flipped. And you can just like select it and be like, fix train or something like that. And it's crazy. It just like automatically fixes it for you. And then it gives you different options to make the one that's the most believable. So yeah.
Wonderful, because it definitely gives you a peace of mind. I think as the bride, especially when you're thinking of every little detail, and when something goes wrong, this idea that you have to give it attention and fix it, and like with the veil is a perfect example, but knowing in the aftermath it'll be perfected and
okay.
fine-tuned it's kind of a weight off your shoulders in a way. So that's really wonderful to hear.
Yeah. It's definitely crazy. I've used it, like Lauren's used it for, like I had a bride running through a field and it was beautiful. But like the dress looked a little flat in one side versus the other. It didn't look even. So I was like being a perfectionist. I was just like, let's see if I could add that back in. And no joke, you just select like the little area. And I was just like extend dress, I think was the prompt I used. And it literally built the bottom of the dress, like rebuilt it. So it looked like it was flowing better. So it was really cool in that regard. I actually just used it recently. The groom's hair got messed up a lot. It was like blowing in the. It was a really windy day. Lauren actually shot the wedding with
running
me.
amok.
It was absolutely running amok. And the bride contacted me. She's like, "I love these photos. His hair is just a disaster. Is there anything you could do?" And no joke, I was able to select his hair, like, and just type in fix hair, and it rebuilt his hair. It looked real. I was like, "This is crazy." So it in Photoshop, like 2 years ago, that would have taken me like, I don't know, an hour.
We
Like now it's
would have been able to do it.
yeah, it would have been you need a pro.
Yeah, hair by hair, filling
exactly.
it in.
So it is cool how it is affecting not only us as photographers, it's helping you and you're in your industry and helping speed up processes and stuff like that. That's what we
For sure.
really see.
Yeah, and I mean ultimately I'm such a physical product. I'm in a physical product world, and so much of the fine tuning and tailoring is really in person. It's physical and it's materialistic. So there's only so much you can actually translate from AI in that case, unless, we get robots or something to build the dress. But, it's there's a one point where it just becomes very human to human. And I still really appreciate that part. Like, especially with photography too, it's like you're the one capturing the moments and you need to be there to get those candid, fantasy.
That's like one of the biggest things that we've talked about with the ultimate question of AI. Like, is AI going to replace this, that, or the other thing? And I don't think so, because that element of human connection is so important to so many people. With you and designing, that's like huge. Even going in and like trying on physical dresses is such a huge part of the process as well. Like, how are we gonna? Is there going to be a screen that basically like puts you in the dress, like that kind of thing in the future? Like, no, probably, maybe, I don't know, probably, but it's not going to feel as good as, 3 different people helping you pick out the dress of your dreams.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be like an Iron Man hologram that's like putting on a dress kind of thing, Like, I don't think that's there. We're there anytime soon, but yeah, I could see it maybe one day. All right, so I have a question. I have a question for you. So, okay, so you are known really for your iconic style. Like when Lauren and I see a bride, like, and we know it's a Hayley Paige dress. It's
Aww.
I legit get like years ago. I think I had a bride was wearing one of your dresses, and as soon as like she walked out of the room, I was like, that's a Hayley Paige dress. I was like, damn. And like, I knew it right away. So you are known for your iconic like style, and really people like know you for that look. Like we could spot your dresses. And I think that's amazing. Now, the question as photographers, we deal with this a lot, but as a designer yourself, have you ever like suffered from what we call imposter syndrome, where you feel like, you weren't able to maybe design something, or maybe you were like, just in a rut? Okay, like we've all been in ruts and things like that, but as a designer, do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome? Is that something that like you go through?
Absolutely, I do. I think it's sometimes healthy in the mindset of humbling or humility, because it brings you back to earth and grounds you in the moment of, okay, I am just human, and what am I really capable of? And so I think sometimes it can be just a good balancing, especially if you are high performing in your craft and you're doing really well and you feel that there is some kind of, success and reciprocity with your customer, and you don't want to take it for granted. The imposter syndrome always creeps in, and thinking, oh, am I coming off authentic enough? And am I really going to be the best designer for her? Like those kind of things just happen. And so I learned to just anticipate it and know that that's part of the journey and part of the checks and balances. And you have to just be careful what kind of mindset you allow in your driver's seat, in that, you know, there are some certain circumstances that were way beyond your control, but for the most part, you can kind of take your control back in what you're going to listen to in your own brain. Like, this is positive thinking for me. My emotional home is a safe place to be. Or is this really to my detriment and it's going to prevent me from moving forward?
I love that so much. Like, so much that you have that mentality, like, almost pre-existing in your head. Like, I wish I could do that, because I have an annual identity crisis about 4 times a year. And then I have to like go through and like remind myself that the way I was is why I'm here, you know? So I think everybody goes through it at some point in their career, and it's important to know like your instincts are there and it's good to follow your gut. But I think like a lot of people find themselves in that position because of the impact of social media and looking at other people's work all the time now. So they're constantly comparing. But I think it's just like you said, it's like this mindset where you have to convince yourself and ground yourself a little bit.
Yeah. And you can kind of see it as, okay, this is a very reasonable doubt that I'm having, and there's a bit of fear in it, but it's this idea that you're just completely without fear, like fearless, is just not really possible in my mind. It's going to be there. You still have to operate in lieu of it being there, or in its presence. But I don't know, credibility for me and having a real reputation and relationships and a track record, those are the things, the bare bones that I remind myself of when I'm having those moments where I feel like, am I good at this? Am I being authentic? And then you have to think about all those other things that make up your whole story and why you've come this far. You have more to go. And it kind of helps build a bigger picture.
It's amazing.
Heck yeah.
Laura, why don't you take the next question?
Sure. Speaking of social media, how are you using social media to your advantage in showcasing your brand? And did you ever have a strategy on how you use social media as an extension of yourself? Speaking of being true to yourself and authentic.
Social media has grown into something so eclectic, and it can be really difficult when there's so much material out there and so many visuals to really find your voice and find out like what kind of content and how you're showing up. Whereas when it first started, it just felt like a natural extension. You know, it was old school, and it's like, here's my latte, you know, here's me going out with my friends in New York City, and here's me on a trunk show. And so it kind of just felt very real, like, here it is. Whereas now there's a real opportunity to like control the narrative and provide some entertainment or value or offer. And there's just this added weight and pressure to it. And so I think it's really important for businesses and people that use personal branding and social media to realize that it's a different world now. It's a different game. There is a pay to play element to it if you're a business. Like, are your ads going to even be seen, even if you're throwing $5,000 down the proverbial like digital marketing hole? Like, is it going to even work? You know, like, there's so much to take into consideration. And my hope is that the pendulum actually kind of swings back to do what makes sense to you and try not to overthink so much of how the response is going to be. Because if you're thinking too far ahead and trying to guess, you know, it could be diverting from something that's really like natural and low hanging fruit for yourself. I don't know if that was too elusive, but like, it can be overwhelming.
100%.
It becomes something where you feel an obligation. And when you're feeling obligated, like, oh, if I'm not posting or if I'm not commenting on this, are people going to judge me, or are they going to like me less? You know, and like, you really get caught in that web of like imaginative trauma. And having too much of a strategy and thinking you can control the response or the reaction is, I think, where a lot of creators can get lost.
Yeah, I think that's very true. You know, as photographers, we see it a lot. We see like we've seen the evolution of, let's say let's just say Instagram. Okay, for instance, like Instagram was a photo sharing platform, and then it evolved into, you know, video based, and it, like, once brands were on there, it was like, how do you showcase your brand to the masses? And it was very addy, very selly, and then, brands learned to evolve with the times, through UGC content and using influencers and creators to help create content on these social media sites. So what I always saw from you on your social media was you interjected yourself into your brand. So I always saw you, like showcasing like it was like you and your brand are one and the same. Like personality ties to the brand. Whether it's you're showing your sketches or your dog or like, life with your fiance, things like that. Like it always felt like an extension that like people felt a little bit more welcome in there. And so I think like when you like the way you're talking is exactly that is, we've seen that evolution. We've seen that. And I think like it's important for brands to know, like, as social media evolves with the times, having your own personality and showcasing your personality in your brand still holds so much more weight than, just like trying to sell something or just show something or something like that. Like, and I've seen that a lot with you. So like, and I have to ask this question too. Is it you answering all those DMs and like all those accounts, by the way?
Yes. And now I have like 100 accounts. So I'm like, but I think at some point I will probably need a little bit of help just navigating because I don't know, there's something about somebody taking time out of their day to message you and ask you a question or give you feedback on something. And I don't know if it's a guilt or it's just this, I want to respond to them. I want to acknowledge them. And so I feel that need to be personally be responsible for my response to them. And you can only go so far as you grow your community, of course, but I try to do it as much as possible and stay like as close to the fire as I can. Like maybe it'll take me a couple days to get to those direct messages, but it's been really worth it to me. And I think it's been really meaningful because most people do realize it's me, either it's a voice message or it's directly, just my voice. And that personal connection is really important in what I do, like especially with wedding dresses, because it's emotional and you want to feel like you have a real advocate and that somebody isn't pushing you into something that's just not you. And that can happen in fashion very easily.
That's amazing.
It can be really like intimidating. I don't know. I grew up very intimidated by the fashion industry and thinking I was not cool enough, am I edgy enough? Am I creative enough? And like Instagram tends to do that to people. It's like you see all these celebrities and they have like these like effortless carousels of their life, right? Like on tour or like, and it's like all these edgy photos and like, oh, how did somebody capture that moment? And it's like these people have massive teams of people following them, like getting every one of those moments, thinking of every little thing for them, like how can you look cooler to the public? And then people just assimilate it with this idea that it's their responsibility to do that for themselves. And it's so much work and it becomes this idea of I'll never be good enough, And so like I hate that almost barrier to entry for people. I like it being more like anything is possible for you and you can build your own little world and it'll just be as entertaining as somebody else. So
inspired.
Yeah. I love that. And a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. Okay. Like, if you follow an artist that has like, 1 million followers or something like that, and their Instagram is so beautifully curated and like you see like it looks like the behind the scenes is just so perfect and like, what I feel like engages their followers the most is when they hop on there and do a personal story, whether it's like or a personal point of view. That's when they engage their audience base the most. And that's what I've seen with you is like, like you're engaging your listener base or your audience, I should say, your audience by, responding to DMs and, responding on posts, like, if somebody posts like a beautiful photo of a dress or shoes, like, and they tag you, like you have taken your time out of your day to say how beautiful it is or like, oh my God, thank you for tagging. Like I remember the first time you reposted or you reshared one of my stories and I was like fangirling like, oh my God, like shit like that. So like straight up, like I was like, holy shit, like, like because not a lot of designers do that.
Yeah.
And, and I think like a lot of designers could learn a thing or two from you because of the fact that like how you engage your audience and like you're personable. So like that was we had to ask that social media question because we know like one, you have like 4 account. I don't even know how many accounts you have. Like 4 maybe.
Too many.
You got to account for your dog too. I mean, like
5 with the dog.
5 with the dog. I love that. So this episode is sponsored by the Legal Paige. The Legal Paige is a legal education platform for small businesses and a contract template shop. They help you get legally legit in minutes. So Lauren,
I've been using a Legal Paige contract for a while now.
I know you have, and guess what?
Did you do it?
I did. I took the jump. I took the jump and I implemented Paige's contract into my proposals and everything.
How amazing.
Oh my God. There was so much in there that like just covers my bases.
That you wouldn't even think of.
I'm like, where was this my whole life? So they have literally changed the game for me. They have made me feel a lot more secure in my business. And I really think you guys should take a look.
Just take a peek.
Just take a peek. Take a peek.
And there's also something for anything. Like I've gotten a couple of destination inquiries and realized that I needed to change my contract. So you can purchase a destination wedding contract.
Yeah, maybe if you have a second shooter or an associate shooter and you need an agreement, they have those as well. So it doesn't matter what you are in the industry, whether you're a photographer, videographer, planner, florist, DJ, you name it. The Legal Paige has a contract that will make your business legally legit.
All contracts have been reviewed and critiqued by industry-leading professionals and come with free future updates made by the Legal Paige's legal team.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but Paige is a retired wedding and family photographer, as well as an attorney. So she has a very unique perspective and expertise when it comes to photography contracts. They offer education through blog posts, podcast episodes, YouTube channel, pretty much you name it.
The whole 9.
So definitely check them out. Use the link in the show notes to get legally legit. And you know what's really cool about it, Lauren? We got a code.
We got a code. Use TVT10.
And that will get you what?
10% off anything in the shop.
So you want to get your business legally legit? Check out the Legal Paige.
We just want to give a special shout out to Maru, one of our sponsors. Maru is a modern payment experience for the weddings and events industry.
Maru has added some incredible new features, including the ability to send contracts, create itemized invoices, and our personal favorite, the ability to pay contractors.
Love this.
Yeah, like that makes me so happy to have a platform that if I need to pay like an associate or a second shooter, I'm paying them right through Maru. It just goes right to their bank account, makes things so nice and easy.
It's also so neat and organized.
Yes.
You can find anything.
Super organized. Like, I love it because I'm just like, hey, I got to print it out at the end of the year, send my accountant over for tax purposes and all that stuff.
Perfect.
It keeps things so nice and neat.
Maru is a community of 10,000 plus wedding and event professionals, and it's growing. They offer seamless transactions and a hassle-free payment experience. They make it easy for you to focus on what you do best, creating memorable experiences.
So we went over, but with Maru, you could create and share your contract, accept and make payments without processing fees, offer clients a simpler experience, no need to sign up, just pay and go, and pay your contractors, something we both love. So it also keeps all your payments neatly organized in the central hub. You could sign up for free at maru.us/TBT. Lauren, why don't you take the next question?
Sure. Since you have become a designer, how have you seen dress designs evolve through the years?
I feel like there's been a lot more injection of personality, and brides are more willing to not go by the norms or feel like they have to fit in this timeless category. They can really be an of the moment bride, and who they are in that moment, they can fully embrace and do something that feels a little offbeat, or it's, oh, this isn't fashionable, but I freaking love it and I'm going to do it, and I think there's more gumption in that. So I've really pulled a lot of inspiration directly from my brides and my journey in meeting them and how we interact or just things that they say. And I don't know, there's a really nice chemistry there that has helped me become a better designer. And I think that that's just something I want to honor in my journey as I've come forward in design, is that like it's because of brides and those interactions and really developing on a storyline. So I don't know, I'm so excited to get back out there because while there's been a 3.5 year hiatus, I never stopped designing behind closed doors. While I couldn't share it publicly for a good period of time, I was still drawing and thinking of things and on to the next design. And I feel like that was always just something that brought me a lot of peace to do and think of dresses. It was ingrained very early in my life. And so I just kept that at the forefront of my brain, even if I couldn't do it performatively, or publicly. So
That's so
hopefully
cool.
I'm not too disconnected at this point. We'll see.
I will say, like, this year, for sure, I can agree with that. I've had like several offbeat brides who really surprised me with their gown choices in a good way, a very good way. Like, I was really excited to see how different and unique that they were in comparison to what I've seen over the last few years. Like, people are really choosing to put their personality in what they choose to wear on their wedding day, which is incredible. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, and there's just so much thoughtfulness that goes into that day, and to just see somebody feel very much like, this is who I am, and I made all these decisions to make this moment a reality, and then have, talented photographers and creatives complement that. I think that's that's really good vibes. It's very, very good for the industry in general. It's positive.
Yeah. Love that. Now this kind of bridges into our next question, which is, with everything, we talk a lot about trends here on the vendor table. Like, we often, like, a lot of people are like, what's going to be the next big bridal trend? Like, oh, wedding parties, are they going to exist? And, what's the next photo trend? We see photo trends all the fucking time. And like, we're like, oh,
like,
God.
Here's the shot list, and I need these pictures. You have to take these, kind of thing.
Oh, straight. Hayley, right now, like, the trend is, like, people like blurry fucking photos. Okay. Blurry photos. Okay. Our cameras take incredible, like, we spend a lot of money on these freaking cameras. They take incredible photos, right? Okay. What do they want? Soft, out of focus shit. Okay. It like drives me absolutely crazy. But do we do it?
Nice.
We call it blurry trash, by the way. Like, we call it blurry trash. But, like, okay, there's trends with everything. Okay, with photo trends, there's flower trends, and there's also, bridal trends. Okay, like, do you see, like, a popular style or look influencing bridal fashion in the next few years?
That's a great question. I do feel like it's a free-for-all. In that token, I mean that anything is possible and how it will express itself. But maybe color is where I would think there's a lot more room to grow. This idea that you only can kind of fit into that white palette of dresses or ivory or buttercream or whatever. I feel like there's a lot more excitement for an infusion of a blush tone or a blue or a lavender, or going with like a black dress and just kind of fully owning, committing to your, emo inside. Like all that stuff I think is very bewitching and fun and great to encourage. I think on the design side, where I always try to think about, I always think about balancing my assortment. And whether that means, okay, well, I have to kind of address this trend. Sure. Like, I'm a ball gown girl, but I need to make sure I'm putting out fitted styles and mermaids and trumpets and balancing my look that way for the collection. So I kind of think of it more that way than actual trends.
I don't know what a mermaid or a trumpet or any of that shit is.
Don't.
Okay. Don't know, but it sounds very, yeah. Like, I've seen it. I mean,
Google it.
Photograph 300. Okay, I know I've seen this shit. Okay, but
Fit to flare.
Gotcha. Okay, love that for me. All right, Lauren,
Yes.
take the
New verbiage.
Take the next one.
Coming your way.
Love it.
Don't worry, I'll teach you. During your hiatus of designing bridal gowns, you launched She is Cheval, a designer shoe line, which I've been following religiously since you launched. Now that you are back in bridal fashion, do you have any plans on having collaboration pieces for shoes and dresses?
Yes. Oh gosh, I have to weave the brands together. And that was kind of the first challenge in my brain that I was trying to encompass. Like, how am I going to continue to run this small business while also going back into something where, when I was designing Hayley Paige, I wasn't doing anything else. Like, that was like my heart and soul going into that whole job and career and life. And now I've built a small business. And so there has to be a balancing of the ticket a little bit. And so that's kind of where I went first, of like, okay, how can I manage this and make sure that I can still have both. And that's been a really fun part of weaving, but looking at opportunities to complement the collections. So, matching dresses and shoes, of course. But I think what's been really great about going into shoe design is it gave me a little bit of confidence in designing outside of bridal. And I really needed that, I think, as a designer in terms of just understanding an e-commerce consumer or understanding lifestyle consuming and just, what else can I participate in with her journey, and so that has made it really limitless and exciting and a lot to learn still.
As there always is. I feel like in every business owner's life, there's going to be moments of evolution and like different ways that we learn to advance our brands. So like this for you was great because then it's only something that can help build your brand even further. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and shoes are definitely more inclusive in that, you don't have to just be going to a wedding or getting married to wear the product. And I would say too, in terms of like the shape shifting of it and how you build a shoe and think of inventory management and all this other stuff, it's helped complete the picture for me in getting back into bridal because I'm taking all this new knowledge of business that I think could be applied and helpful. Not to say that there weren't some like massive mistakes in building this business, but learning from those mistakes and being able to carry the lessons forward, I think will help me in my presentation in bridal design as well. I hope.
Love that. Love that. Like, yeah, I was very interested. I think that's, if one of the things that kind of came out of, the whole 3-year hiatus, 3.5-year hiatus, it was, you launched a new brand. And with that, like, sure, ushered you into a new opportunity, which I think is really, really interesting. And now that like you're back, I think it's really awesome that, you have the potential to kind of like coordinate or merge or have the ability to like kind of collaborate with these brands together. So I'm interested to see that, like, and like anytime, like with bridal shoes, for instance, like I've seen everything. Like we've seen everything. We've seen girls wear Nikes, like, like and like
Fun.
and rock it out and stuff like that. So like, I mean, like you could wear anything and it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a white pair of shoes. It could be whatever color you want, whatever style. So I think it's really cool to see that. I'm excited to see what you have in store for the future.
Can I also just add that like when Mike and I do like detail shots at the beginning of our day, like the shoes are like the first thing that we go to photograph. Like we're just like, where are the shoes?
Yeah.
Give me
the shoes.
And it's all like I'll spend like a good 5 to 10 minutes just taking pictures of shoes because why are they so awesome?
I'm a dude and I think they're kind of cool. I'm a dude. I'm like, all right, I know how much those fucking cost. Like, gotta take good photos of this shit.
You get a pair of Louboutins or like a sparkly Badgley Mishka shoe, and you're like, I gotta put this in the sun.
Yeah, so you got some diamonds on them and shit. Like, oh man, I know how much money that was, girl.
All the bells and whistles.
Gotta shoot the shit out of that. All right, so we got. This is the next thing. The next like kind of trendy question. It's kind of trends. But as a, like what's come about over the last, I'd say, I want to say what 2-3 years, Lauren. The a lot of brides are doing what we call outfit change. Okay, so halfway through their reception, they get out of their ball gown and they get into like a party dress. All right, as a dress designer, do you love the outfit change trend where brides are getting out of their wedding gown and into a secondary outfit or dress?
I love celebrating that idea of interchangeability. And when it comes to making a dress selection, there's so much pressure and this idea that, I have to have this one dress that perfectly encapsulates like everything I want for that day. And the idea that you could have a second look or another way to wear that dress during that day, I think gives more freedom and flow to who you are and your personality and your style choices, of course. So I love it. I think you can treat it as a real fashion moment for yourself. And I think for a lot of brides, this day is so special and it's over the top and you want to have this epic entrance. You want an epic exit as well, and maybe it's a different look and it gives a lot of entertainment value, of course, but it's all about expressing yourself. So I always encourage it.
We've also seen like a couple of designers posting like convertible dresses where it starts out as one thing with multiple pieces. Maybe there's a removable train and there's shorter skirt underneath or removable sleeves and things like that.
I call it the transformer dress.
Transformer dress.
Oh, that's perfect.
So we're like, seeing those as options now, which I feel like it kind of removes that pressure from people who like, you've heard people who are just like, why would you change into a different outfit? You get to wear it once, blah, blah,
Oh my
blah.
God. Why would you do that?
Who cares? Who cares?
Well, I think you've got to just do what's right for you and put your blinders up a little bit when it comes to the judgments. And ultimately, anything that you're going to do that day that makes sense for you, if you fully embrace it, it's going to make you feel better, just about the whole experience of it. So
100%.
Nice. Do you have a transformer dress? Have you designed one of those like before?
Yeah, I've had a few. Yeah, mostly like removable skirts, the idea of doing a fitted dress with an overskirt. Just having optionality, I think, is wonderful. And you also have to enjoy your wedding. Even if you're in an uncomfortable dress, let's say, for part of it, there's going to be a portion where you're going to boogie down, and you want to move your arms and do the chicken dance or whatever, like you can't have like sleeves that don't have gussets, and most sleeves don't have gussets. So like, can you raise your arm all the way up? Probably not. So if there's some bit of interchangeability in the dress, that's always great because it just becomes more flexible.
Love it. Love it. Lauren,
Yeah.
I want you to ask the last question that we have like on our main list of questions. I think this is
Okay.
a big one, and I think it's a powerful one, and I want you to ask.
It's a really important question, and can you tell us a little bit more about the A Girl You Might Know Foundation, the meaning behind it, and what the goal of the foundation is for?
The goal of the foundation is protecting creative vulnerabilities, and it really did come from my own experience and hardships and realizing that there are a lot of guessing and uncertainty in signing these contracts, especially when you're a young artist and you're wanting to shoot your shot and get your big opportunity, and you're afraid if you push back or you contest anything, you're going to lose that opportunity. And so providing advocacy and legal resources and experience-based content, anything that can give you the secrets or the answers to the test ahead of time, I think is a very big message for me. In that, I did learn the hard way on a lot of things, but that doesn't mean everyone else has to. Like these are some things that I would recommend, and you can take it or you can leave it. But the foundation is really about providing that kind of support. And I think it's really open to conversation about how partnerships and contracts really are interpreted and work well, and where they don't, and where they kind of leave you vulnerable, or how they could be interpreted. And most of my campaigning, I think, in this world has been in the non-compete aspect of things, in that, we want to encourage people to work, and we want to encourage them to perfect their craft and be as high performing in their category as they can be. But if we allow for non-competes, it really puts up this barrier, and it actually will end up, to the detriment of business. So it's been a really interesting journey that's become such a big talking piece for me, and why I want to support people, not just employees, but also small businesses, and how to still protect themselves.
I mean, when I first sent you the message congratulating you on your huge win, I was very emotional about it, because as somebody who is a business owner who had signed a non-compete with another business a few years ago, this was humongous. And the way that this turned out was going to be very telling for a lot of business owners and a lot of independent contractors as well. So this was such an important thing for all of us to hang on to. And especially in the wake of how everything actually worked out, we were all screaming with our hands in the air for you. So we're so happy that you are here, that you are back to designing and doing what you love and are passionate about. It's very, There's a reason I wore this shirt.
Oh, I love that. That is
So thank you.
gosh, my pleasure. Well, thank you for the support.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. I wish I could give you a hug. This is why all this stuff needs to be in person.
Wow. Yeah. So yes, that was
Thank you.
it's very important, and it's amazing that you have started this foundation to help others who might not know about any of these things, who need the resources to help to understand the documents that they're signing, the relationships that they're building.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the support, and that has always been my biggest kind of goal in going into the nonprofit world is can there be things from our stories that allow people to skip ahead a few chapters and can that make them even better in their profession? And most of the time the answer is yes. So I'm definitely happy to be in service of that, and also know that I have a big road ahead of me. And so rebranding and getting back out there, there's a bit of pressure to it, of course, but I think it's more about accountability and owning your story and not feeling like, oh, I've been oppressed or I'm a victim of this. It's that this has been an amazing learning lesson, and why not share it so that other people can know that this is possible and here's how to avoid it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it truly is remarkable, and like I think like as the two of us have followed your journey over the last few years, it's something we did want to touch on. We didn't want to make the whole interview about it or anything like that. We were like, we got to talk a little bit about it because it's still relatively fresh and new. But I love what you're doing with the foundation. I think it's so important to know because like I worked in corporate. I worked a corporate job before I became a full-time wedding photographer, and I saw that corporation enforce non-competes and people coming from other corporations that had a non-compete that they couldn't work until a certain time. And it really is a detriment to those people that are trying to find work and trying to find jobs, and maybe they're good at something. They're very good at something, and like they can't use those talents because they signed an agreement. Maybe they didn't even know they signed it. So,
Right.
I think it was awesome. It was so cool to see you up in front of the U.S. Senate. Like I was like, yo, fuck yeah, awesome. Like
Big fuck yes for happening.
yeah, straight up.
That
We were
was
like, yo,
wild, just wild. Thank you.
and like and iconic. You were like pink power suit girl. Hell yeah,
Amazing.
It was nearly impossible to not just fully embrace that moment with all the pink possible.
Straight up. I was like, yo, that's a power suit. That was sick.
Iconic.
Yeah. I was really all right. So like we listen, we are so happy to have you on. We're at the part of the show we call the after party. So this is like kind of more off the cuff, rapid fire questions. You can answer anyway. We might have you elaborate on some of these, okay? But like kind of first thing that comes to mind when like you think about it, okay? Like so, like kind of like these are rapid fire, but we might have you elaborate on a couple of them.
Done.
All right. All right. First one, I'm gonna ask, and then Lauren will alternate. Okay. All right. Do you prefer, if you're attending a wedding, do you prefer a wedding band or a DJ?
DJ.
Ooh.
Great, if you want.
Yeah.
So Conrad and I, when we first met, we decided on our first night that we were going to go to Burning Man. And flash forward a few months, we went to Burning Man for the first time. And there is this huge sound culture to Burning Man where they do like competing DJs, where they're on these like massive art cars and it's all like remixed old school music and they're competing and it's like so immersive. And so we kind of made a pact pretty early in our relationship. I mean, we got engaged a year later, but we were like, we will have DJs, like competing DJs at our wedding or something like that.
Nice. That's sick. It's like dueling pianos, but dueling DJs. I love that. That's sick. Do you have a favorite DJ? Are you like favorite genre of music? Okay, that's not on the questions. Okay, but is it EDM? Is it like
No, I'm super eclectic. I love all kinds of music.
Okay.
And I've gone down some pretty extensive TikTok rabbit holes in looking for those almost like SoundCloud type artists that really like remix from like their basement, and you can find some really juicy tracks that way. So I love it. I love it all.
It's a mixture of everything.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to ask this question. It's not on here either. All right, if we were to open up your Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, okay, what's on right now? What are you listening to?
In Excess. It's like In Excess, Pearl Jam, and like Metallica right now. It's so funny.
Nice.
It's just like not what you would expect. And maybe some like Loretta Lynn. So it's just, you never know what you're gonna get. That's why I love my Spotify wrap at the end of the year, just to see like, did I really reach this time? Like, am I going all over the place?
That's so true, because mine is like Chapel Roan and like Taking Back Sunday. It's like so random.
You don't even know what's going on in mine.
Yeah, hers is all. I can imagine what hers is.
It's a disaster. I don't know.
So funny.
All right.
Lauren, you got the next one.
Sequins or lace?
Both on top of each other.
That's such a designer answer.
Or sequins in the shape of a lace, in the pattern of a lace. Even better.
Dang.
Gun to your head. One or the other. Sequins, lace.
Sequins.
Is that what you thought it was going to be, Lauren?
I hoped it would be. But he needs
All right.
sparkle. You need to own at least one sequined item as a.
For sure.
Okay.
You just do. It's the rules. I don't make them.
It's like daily for me over here.
Yeah.
Daily items, sequins.
All right. Got the next one for you. Blush or ivory?
Ivory.
Wow. And you have a blush line too, right? Blush
I know.
by Hayley Paige?
Blush is probably one of my favorite colors.
That's so cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What like, is there a reason you like ivory over blush, or is that like?
It's just such a great base to build on. You can go anywhere from that. And I don't know, it's always felt like such a limitless color, which is probably not what most people think, but I don't know. There's just so many ways.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Shawshank Redemption.
Nice.
Every time.
Solid.
And I watch it at least 3 times a year, I would say.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. I would not have picked you as a Shawshank fan. That's awesome. That is
I know.
really cool. That's one of the, it's probably, I think, up there as one of the top 5 greatest movies of all time, according to IMDb, if I'm not mistaken. So
according
I'm a
to
movie.
I hope so.
I'm a movie buff. I have to ask that question. We have to ask that question to everybody. Like, that's like things I've been right now. I don't know what it is, but I'm like you with Shawshank. I watch Interstellar like every, like, I want to say like twice or maybe 3 times a year. That movie gets me all the time. I don't know what it is.
Hans
I get
Zimmer
sucked into
did
that.
the score. One of my faves. It's
Just
so epic. It like makes the movie, the score. It's just, yeah.
Right.
Good choice. Yeah.
It's the message in there is so good. So that's amazing.
And then
all right.
Who like doesn't watch any movies ever. Chances are, if you ask me about it, I watched it.
More into books or music, or what would you say fills the void? Podcasting.
Books and music.
Yeah.
Books and music. I am a book girl.
Yeah, she's into her fairy smut. Like she likes.
It has depth.
It has.
I get it. Like the book talk stuff on TikTok is pretty fun. Yeah,
it's all consuming. I can't help.
What's the one you read all the time? Well, I did not read all the time.
All the time. I've read it once.
Okay, sorry.
A Corn and Roses. Okay, every girl has to read it. They're not lying.
It's one of our goals is like if we reach a certain subscriber base or something like that, like I have to read this book. So like I'm like,
you're gonna love it.
All right, that's fine.
Pat
Whatever.
Loved it.
You could audio listen, right, in the car or something.
I don't know if we want to audio listen to that book. That I've heard some.
Him to read it out loud,
or
like
do
a story.
You?
What? Where were? Oh, right. I asked that one. Your turn, Mike.
All right. Okay. If you could only wear one color for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Rhinestone as the color.
Anything sparkly. Doesn't matter the color. Sparkle.
And then right after that is like denim. It's like denim. I would I find that denim is so much fun to bedazzle and feel special in.
I like that.
I love it. I love it. All right, Lauren, you got the last one.
If you could design a dress for anyone, could be alive or dead, who would it be for?
I feel like it's my sister.
Aw.
I'm so excited to design for her. She went through a divorce, as did I. But I feel like when she first got married, I was just starting out. And so as a young designer, I just feel like she kind of got gypped in like the dress. And I was like, well, I can only make certain ones at this point, you know, and now my dexterity is much better. And so I'm actually so looking forward to designing her dress someday. And like, you know, the first one was a dress rehearsal. This is the real thing, you know? So I'd say her.
I love that.
Oh, I love that so much. That's amazing.
Aw,
Love that.
that's much better than like a famous person.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn.
Wouldn't say no.
I love that.
But
That was
yeah,
heartfelt.
if Dolly Parton or Taylor Swift or Miranda Lambert, any of those people, I'd be like, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Listen, if oh my God, Swifties would love that. Oh my
Listen
God.
up, Taylor.
Yeah.
Die. I would die.
Right.
Yeah.
We would die for you. We often joke. we often we often fucking joke all the time. We're like when she gets engaged, like one, she's gonna set the trend, whatever she chooses for whatever she has. Like if it's photographed, if it's like, you know, like a lot of people are like she's just gonna have a small thing, and a lot of people are like, oh, you know, she's gonna be like the queen and all this stuff, right? She's gonna be the next Queen Victoria, where she influences, you know, the next 150 years of dress design, right? I'm very excited to see like what her wedding will be like, because I know how much of an influence in that will be. But
Yeah.
like, and as photographers, we're like, whoever shoots that fucking wedding will like
Set for life.
Yeah, 100%.
How fun. Yes.
Right.
Well, we have that to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, Hayley, listen, this has been an incredible interview. We want to thank you again so much for coming on the show. We had a ton of fun in this interview. Like we are so honored to have you on. So in closing, we always ask our guests, like, you know, where can our listeners find you? What do you, if you have any projects coming up, like what, where can we find you on social or website or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've got at Miss Hayley Paige back. Got that account, so that's the main one. And then I also have all the glitters on the gram and A Girl You Might Know foundation, and She Is Cheval, which is the shoes. But yeah, I'm mostly still a grammer. I'm not as much on YouTube or TikTok. I try, but I'm got some learnings there. But
Talk
yeah,
is hard.
I know it's I don't get it yet. I need to find my groove.
Hard.
We hear you, girl. You're a millennial. You're like us, so we
Totally.
understand.
There are people
You're our people.
still just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Lauren, where can they find you?
You can find me at LaurenO'BrienPhoto.com and Lauren O'Brien Photo and the Barrel Photog on Instagram and TikTok. Mike, where can they find you?
At Michael Casara Photo on Instagram, TikTok, as well as my website. And you can find us at the Vendor Table Pod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as
Facebook group.
Guys, it's been so much fun. We will catch you next time.
Okay, bye.